Jones, Phillip, Lindberg.
Yep.
Kovanoff, Dewar, Giroux, Sokolov, Fetter, Gordiev. Mickey Sokolov, Budria, Tyler-Shee, Sweeney, Guskov, Nestorenko, Malmquist, Polka, Johansson. These are all J's, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can pop in there. But
You can't get in here.
yeah.
That to pick up the music. For some reason, I tried to use that one, but it doesn't work. That's the one he has plugged into Ice Mike. So. No, we don't. I think that's what he was planning.
Huh?
We are up and live. I'm using your mic just to pick up the music. I tried to use that far one that you got plugged into PA, but...
Oh no, it's plugged into 3.
Oh, okay. Well, whichever one you want to use for your...
No, we're live. We're live.
Good evening, Wild fans, and welcome to Tree Rink and Treasure Hunt Center for the 2019 Minnesota Wild Development Camp. Tonight's 3-on-3 tournament will feature 4 teams, with each team including 3 periods of 3 minutes with running time. In case of regulation tie, there'll be a 3-minute sudden-death overtime period, followed by a 3-player shootout if needed. The first 2 rounds tonight will feature 2 simultaneous games. Round 3 in the championship being 1 game at a time. One housekeeping note, the Treasure Island parking ramp. If you'd like to stop at guest services to pick up a voucher to only pay $4, do so at guest services. Guests who park in the Treasure Island parking ramp may stop by guest services to pick up a voucher to only pay $4 in the Treasure Island parking ramp. Thumbs up for our friends at the Minnesota Wild. Game half the full season tickets are on sale for the 2019-20 season. Inventory is open and available for purchase. Right now, gain exclusive access, rewards, and membership. That's more like a family. To purchase, learn more, please visit tickets.wild.com. Put your hands together for the Minnesota Wild Development Campers. We'll 5 minutes warm up and then we'll get started.
Good evening, State of Hockey, and welcome into Wild.com. It's the 2019 Minnesota Wild Development Camp. It's the final day, and we are excited to bring you some 3-on-3 hockey. A little scrimmage here, a 3-on-3 tournament to be more precise, to wrap things up as part of the 2019 Development Camp. I am Joe O'Donnell, joined by Dan Myers of Wild.com. And Dan, it's nice outside, certainly beautiful in St. Paul the last couple of days, and over the last week, basically, 31 prospects have been here, honing their craft, learning a bit more about the organization and one another.
Couldn't believe that I came to the rink today and it's 90 degrees with a 70 dew point and I'm throwing a hooded sweatshirt into the car. The rink is the good place to be here tonight as the temperature's a little hot, but as you said, yeah, it's been fun to see some of the newcomers here. You know, plenty of familiar faces around the rink this week. Several guys here for their second, third time, but so many guys even a week ago that weren't even a part of this organization yet, guys that were drafted in a busy day 2 at last weekend's NHL draft. You're able to get a first look at them, so it's been fun to kind of meet these guys and see what they bring on the ice and what they're going to bring to this organization in the future.
Minnesota selected 8 prospects last weekend in Vancouver, and with development camp basically 10 days or so earlier than in previous years, those guys basically left Vancouver, came right to the Twin Cities. 7 of the 8 draft picks are here and have been at development camp. I guess we should quickly sort of run down our format for you tonight. We've got 3-on-3 hockey, as I mentioned. We'll have 3 periods. Each will be 3 minutes in length. We'll have a 1-minute break in between each period. So again, 3 3-minute periods and 4 minutes in between games. And to start, we're going to have a little bit of what you might call controlled chaos. 2 games going at once cross ice. We have the Wild team, the Moose team, the North Stars team, and the Fighting Saints team. Obviously paying homage there to some great hockey tradition here in Minnesota. And so we'll have, again, those 2 games going on at once. It is double elimination. And then at the end, there will be, of course, a championship team, if you will. And then some awards handed out by Brad Bombardier, Director of Player Development for the Minnesota Wild, the most improved prospect and the hardest working prospect here from this week's camp. Those awards will be handed out at some point as we round down the evening. So a lot here to take in for some of these new kids, turning pro really for some of them, others just getting a taste of what this organization is all about. And then they'll head back to the respective junior or collegiate teams to begin their next season in October.
Many of these guys will be joining you down in Iowa as well. One of them, the goaltender over here to our left, Matt Robson, the guy who, like Nico Sturm, who will be on the Team Wild tonight here, got a little bit of a taste of the NHL, and it's interesting to me to see the different backgrounds of these guys. Robson and Sturm both played collegiately last season and got a taste of the NHL late in the year. Nico Sturm got a couple games, as a matter of fact, of NHL experience. Then you've got guys like Matt Boldy, the Wild's first-round pick last week, Marshall Warren, guys that will be headed to BC this fall, Boston College, as freshmen. 17, 18-year-old kids that are coming from the National Development Program. So many different ages, backgrounds, hometowns, all come together here in St. Paul for a few days in a development camp, Joe, that's been much different than we've seen. You mentioned it, just the time of year. We're a couple weeks before when this normally happens, but this has traditionally been a 7 or 8 day event for these guys, and many of them arrived into town maybe Sunday or early Monday for testing, and on the ice Tuesday. It's Friday night, and we're ready to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, there were 3 days of all-night sessions, as Dan just alluded to, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Today was individual player meetings, some off-ice training. There were certainly workouts throughout the week as well, off the ice, strength and conditioning. Sean Scahan, the strength and conditioning coach for the Minnesota Wild, giving these guys a program that they can implement. A lot of the Iowa Wild coaches have been here. Minnesota Wild coaches here for most of the week to kind of keep an eye on things. And as we touched on, Brad Bombardier, Director of Player Development, this has sort of been his baby for years now. Development camp, with coming up with the format, making sure everybody knows where they've got to be and when. And having it here at Tria Rink, things ran very smoothly for year one at this facility for development camp. Just having everybody in one locker room, the weight room, all the resources that this beautiful facility has to offer, all sort of in one spot. And it's been very well received by not only the players but the staff as well here in 2019. Let's give you a glimpse onto who is skating for each of the teams. Again, we have the Wild, the Moose, the North Stars, and the Fighting Saints. There are a handful of goaltenders, in fact 5 of them, that will not be assigned to a particular team. They'll just rotate. So we'll start with the netminders: Derek Baraboo, Matt Robson, Brandon Bussey, Hunter Jones, and Phillip Lindberg. Jones and Lindberg just drafted by the organization. Of course, Robson a free agent signing, Baraboo drafted in 2017, Brandon Bussey an invitee. On the Wild roster for this 3-on-3 tournament, we have Nico Sturm, Alexander Kovanov, Louis Rail, Mate Guskov, Ivan Ladnia, and Fedor Gordiev. For the Moose, Brandon Duhaime, Bryce Misley, Damian Giroux, Simon Johansson, Tyler Sheehy, and Jack McBain. The North Stars have Jack Sadik, Will Bitten, Alex Breton, Adam Beckman, Sean Boudria, and Dylan Malmquist. The Fighting Saints, Philip Johansson, no relation to Simon. He was that first-round pick of the Wild last year in 2018. Connor Dewar, Matthew Boldy, Marshall Warren, Nikita Nesterenko, and Dmitry Sokolov. So those are your 4 teams.
Fighting Saints have been established as 3-1 favorites. Take home the cup by me.
I didn't see that posted anywhere.
That was just announced.
Just announced. Now here will be the tricky part with 2 games going at once. By no means am I can't speak for Dan, am I going to try and call 2 games at once?
You're going to have trouble calling 1 game.
Yes, some would argue. So we'll kind of just talk about the week, the players, and some highlights we see. It does get spirited. There's always been a 3-on-3 tournament during the previous development camps, and then usually it wraps up with a 5-on-5 scrimmage. We're wrapping up with 3-on-3 this year, and we are officially underway. Again, 3 3-minute periods. No break in between each stanza, and 4 minutes between games. There's a goal by Brandon Duhaime down to our left has the first tally for the Moose.
Brandon Duhame, a guy I've got my eye on here this fall as we get closer to the season. Providence College product, signed his pro contract, a guy that could be counted on to play some big minutes in Iowa this year.
I feel like I'm at a Buffalo Wild Wings with like 400 TVs and you don't know which one to focus on. This is pretty cool stuff to have multiple games going at once. The Wild are playing the Moose right now. The North Stars are playing the Fighting Saints. And again, there's sort of a losers or consolation bracket. It's double elimination. And we'll eventually crown the champion here. Just about a minute gone by here in period one in the opening games.
It is fun to watch this much skill, this much size, and this much speed in a little half-rink setting here. Really forces guys to make a quick decision.
Bryce Misley tallies a backdoor tap-in, so the Moose a 2-0 lead down to our left. It is Hunter Jones playing in goal for the Moose team. They're wearing the white sweaters. But again, it's hard to really differentiate too much. We have two sets of teams in green and two sets in white. Baraboo's at the other end. He's on the losing end of things, if you will, in the early going, again, to our left here at Tria Rink. You mentioned the small surface, right? The cross ice, sideboards to sideboards. And I know that coaches and management really like a glimpse of what players can do in these types of settings. I know the Iowa Wild practice these types of mini games all the time throughout the course of the year. I'm sure Minnesota does much of the same. And a lot of it is getting these players to play in those small spaces, sort of that pressure-packed environment, win some of those one-on-one battles, and really display their skill.
I think the fun part about these is you're amazed at how quickly the competitiveness really ratchets up, and you see guys, you know, it starts as kind of a free-flowing, fun type thing, and there's plenty of contact, there's some physicality, and things get rolling pretty quick in terms of the competitive nature of these professional athletes. Nice save down there at the far end over here. I believe that's Baraboo, you said, right?
Yep. 30 seconds to go here.
The red pads.
Opening period. Jones handles the puck and gives it to Duhame. I don't believe we have a goal to our right. The North Stars and Fighting Saints
now.
Game. And now they are on the board.
Like Marshall Warren, the 5th-round pick from last week, jammed that one in from the side.
And that's the Fighting Saints team.
Yeah, Marshall Warren, a guy, again, drafted by the Wild in the 5th round last week. I think if you read up a little bit on him, I know I talked to him this week, he was surprised a little bit that he went that late. Some had him pegged as potentially a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Puck-moving defenseman from the national team certainly looks like pretty good value for the Wild.
Yeah, talking to Brad Bombardier and Matt Hendricks. Hendricks hired this week by the organization to be the assistant director of player development, kind of working with the man they call Bomber. And they both said that Warren's athleticism is what really stands out.
He's a guy that Wild fans obviously have grown very accustomed to, Jared Spurgeon, and the kind of game he plays. Warren's got a little more size than Spurgeon, but certainly not the prototypical 6'2", 6'3" defenseman you see. Warren's just a shade under 6 feet, but he can move the puck. Certainly not afraid to jump up into play, as we saw here in the 3-on-3 with the goal. Standing next to his best friend down here, Matt Boldy, the 1st-round pick from last week. Really fun to catch up with both of those guys this week in the locker room. They've actually known each other and played on teams together since they were about 8 years old. Played high school hockey in Michigan together, both national team guys. Both headed to Boston College and both drafted by the Wild last week.
So I have it at 2-0 Moose to our left, Dan. And the Fighting Saints up 1-0.
That's, I believe you are correct.
Math was never my strong suit.
Well, and now we've got 2 games going. So it's double hard.
It is Robson between the pipes to our right. He has all the Minnesota Wild gear going as he makes a nice save. A couple of them, in fact. The last of which came, or I should say both chances, coming off the tape of Adam Beckman, who was just drafted out of Spokane in the Western Hockey League.
It's a bit of a shocking transformation. My goodness, that was
Misley.
A snipe right there from, I believe that was Bryce Misley. About 25 feet out, bar down. They're talking about the shocking transformation of Matt Robson. He came up with Minnesota last year, the last 3 weeks of the season. He had those bright maroon and gold gopher pads at practice every day. And then the final day of the year, he shows up in the red and green, and it was just a stark change from where we're used to seeing him.
Connor Dewar tallies for the Fighting Saints. They now have a 2-0 advantage. 90 seconds left here as Warren rings one off the goal post.
You can see the skill, Joe. You can just see the skill of a guy in Marshall Warren right there. Give him a little too much time and space. He's got a nice shot, just rang that one off the crossbar.
One of the things that impresses me the most every time we come out to a development camp setting like this, as Warren does now tally, and the Saints, the Fighting Saints, with a 3-0 advantage.
That's a good trio right there, Joe. That's Connor Dewar's a guy, again, could have a nice year in Iowa, but Boldy and Warren know each other very well. That's why they were established by myself as the early favorites in this one.
Started to just talk about development camps in general. One of the things that stands out to me is the ability of these players at such a young age, and not even having filled out their physical frame, so to speak, to shoot the puck so hard and so accurately. And now, obviously, today's technology with the sticks aids in that, but boy, everybody out here this week, working on their skating with Andy Ness, skills coach, with the edge work and all those things. You get to really see the fundamentals and the power in some of these kids, and then they go to shoot the puck, and sometimes you feel bad for the goalies. They're out there for every, sequence, every single drill. Now, granted, there are 5 of them, but they see a lot of pucks coming their way over the course of a long week. Final 10 seconds now in what is the second period in the opening 2 games. Joe O'Donnell, Dan Myers with you on Wild.com. You can tweet at us at WildJoeRadio or at MNWildScribe. That's at WildJoeRadio, at MNWildScribe if you're tuned in. We would love to hear from you. So I've got it 3-0 Moose over the Wild, 3-0 Fighting Saints over the North Stars through 2 periods, another 60-second break. We'll have some guests joining us here on Wild.com. Goaltending development coach Freddie Chabot will stop by for a bit. Richard Park will join us as well, and I believe you were texting somebody very important about coming by as well.
And, of course, we haven't heard from him yet, but we still have some time.
And we're not referring to Mike Russo, who is in the house.
Very good crowd here tonight.
A lot of fans turned out for this free event. There are some autographs afterwards.
I can't see much over here to my right, Joe, but as I look over here to the left, Tria Rink, not many seats available. Plenty of folks standing on the rail as well. Heck, free air conditioning tonight. It's a warm one out there.
Some of the Iowa coaches, and video coach Keith Paulson and assistant coach Brett McLean are out helping. They push, when the pucks come out of the playing surface, so to speak, and they leave and head out the neutral zone, out of the attack zones. The coaches will push them back in. They're also responsible for calling penalties, which will result in a penalty shot should we have any. Fans, it's open season on season tickets. 11-game, half and full season plans are on sale now. Visit tickets.wild.com. That's tickets.wild.com. Kovanov's shot is denied on a stick save by Robson down to our left. Just over 2 minutes left in the third and final period of the first 2 games. Warren with a wrister. That's gloved and held onto by Baraboo. Will push it now aside, and Team Green will change on the fly. That's always a little tricky, too.
Haven't had a chance to see Phillip Johansson yet. I'll watch him this shift. Seen Marshall Warren's been lighting it up over here. Johansson's the other defenseman on that team.
We've got a 3-2 game now down to our left as Lodnia just tallied. And so the Wild team has crawled within 1.
Just saw a nice pass over here with the Fighting Saints by Nestorenko. Heck of a save. I believe that's Bussy down here. And then on the other side, Dmitry Sokolov showing off the skill.
Sokolov had a 16-goal season in Iowa this year. Got into one Calder Cup playoff game. It was the final game in Iowa's season, their first ever playoff appearance this year. It is 4-0 Fighting Saints over the North Stars to our right. And with a minute left, we got a 1-goal game to our left. We'll focus there for a second as Lodnian now has scored. And that ties that game up.
Heck of a comeback.
So
oh my. Jack McBain with a heck of a pass, goes through traffic. Brandon Duhaime again.
40 seconds left now. Again to our left. Here's Giroux centering. McBain fanned on it. Duhaime followed up, but a stop there.
Multiple pucks on the ice here,
Yeah, there are 2 pucks out there. Chance for the Wild here. Again, it was all Moose early in this 3-on-3 as Giroux blows a tire. 20 seconds left. And still 4-0 on the other game. Here's a chance. Guskov denied by Robson on a right pad save.
Well, Robson, that save right there might preserve the win.
I think I've got 3-3 in that game.
4-3. Brandon Duhaime scored moments after Lodny had tied the game. That was the nice play there by Jack McBain. Went right around 2 guys, right into the guts of the ice, as Iowa coach Tim Army calls it. Slid a pass over to Duhaime for the quick one-timer. Matt Robson with a big save at the end, and on to round 2 we go.
So the Moose are 1-0.
That was something. 2 3-on-3 games at once, Joe.
We made it.
We tried.
And I believe the North Stars were shut out.
Yikes. Not a good start for the
Video.
North Stars.
They need video and practice time.
You look at that group. Will Bitton, a guy we can certainly talk about. I chatted with him quite a bit yesterday. You clearly know him a lot better than I do, but a guy who's coming into his age 21 season this year, coming off a very nice year in Iowa. Worked his way up to that top line with Jerry Mayhew and Cal O'Reilly for the end of the year, certainly. A bulk of that playoff run.
He'll be counted on for some big minutes this upcoming season with the Iowa Wild.
Someone who could find himself potentially in that sort of call-up mix, depending on what Minnesota does here on July 1, if there's any free agents on their way in or any trades to be made. But certainly Minnesota trusts that group down in Iowa, coming off a great year. If there's injury, if there's ineffectiveness, a guy like Bitton who can do a little bit of everything, kill some penalties, has some NHL quality speed, guy that could be in that mix.
Got a couple minutes between games here. Again, a reminder, it's open season on season tickets. 11-game, half and full season plans are on sale now. Visit tickets.wild.com. Goaltending development coach for the organization, Freddie Shabbat, kind enough to join myself, Joe O'Donnell, and Dan Myers for a couple minutes here on Wild.com. Freddie, 5 goaltenders at camp this year, but I want to start with a couple of draft picks, guys, you just get to sort of sink your teeth into this week in Hunter Jones and Phillip Lindberg. Let's start with Jones out of Peterborough of the OHL, 28 wins last year in the junior ranks. What have you seen from him this week?
Well, first, really happy to have him. Nice, big goalie, athletic, quick. Really some good qualities as far as being athletic and some skills. He sees the puck well, and he was fun to work with this week, and I hope he's having fun tonight.
Phillip Lindberg will be playing at UMass Amherst again, 17 games last year in Hockey East. He's a Finnish-born goaltender, and you were telling me he knows Kaapo Kähkönen, who played with Iowa and is also a Minnesota draft pick, a 2014 selection, that Phillip Lindberg and Kaapo Kähkönen know each other pretty well.
Yeah, they came through the same minor hockey organization. Great kid. We're really happy to have him too. Good athlete. He's going to still get a couple years to go in college, and he'll be fun to have down the road.
How about 6'6" Derek Baraboo, a 2017 selection, injury-plagued year last year in the Q.
Yeah, he's been rehabbing from hip surgery since January. He's been back on the ice for about 4 weeks. He's ahead of schedule, so we're happy to see where he is, and he had a good week.
Here at Trier Rink, Wild.com. Development camp wrapping up. The second games are just officially underway. We'll get you more on those in a minute. We're chatting with Wild goaltending development coach Freddie Chabot. Matt Robson's a guy that Iowa Wild fans should probably get to know pretty well. Same, I guess, at some point for Minnesota Wild fans, because he could be one of those quick call-ups if something happened up top, of course, between the pipes. But what should Wild fans know about Robson?
Well, he's a really good signing for us. He played for here in Minnesota in the NCAA. He's been working hard in the gym here in Mini for a few weeks now, and he looked really good this week. So he's got good skills. He sees the puck well, and he's really reads the play well.
Lastly, the invitee, Brandon Bussey, a New York native out of the USHL Muskegon club, 52 games last season. That's a lot for a goaltender. What do you know about him?
Well, nice big kid going to college now. He had a good week, had a good year last year after maybe a couple seasons where he had to grow up into a good junior player, and really came through as a 20-year-old last year, had a good year, and really did well this week too.
Where's he going?
He's going to be playing with Andy Murray, I think, north of Michigan.
Okay, perfect. And then lastly, Freddie, for me, just the message that you and Minnesota goaltending coach Bob Mason tried to instill on these kids in a week's worth of practice.
Well, we went through the basics. You know, it's some of those guys don't get to skate very much before this camp, so we go back through the basics, make sure they stay on their feet, that they beat plays on their feet, they track well. And we're looking for compete too. We want to see them compete and try to stop every puck no matter how.
Freddie, Matt Robson, at the end of the year, spent 2-3 weeks up with the big club in Minnesota. Obviously didn't get a chance to play. But how valuable can that time be spent, sitting next to a couple of veterans like Devin Dubnyk, Alex Stalock, watching those guys practice, seeing NHL caliber shots? How much can that sort of help him as he takes the next step in his hockey career?
Well, it's a good experience. It's something you put in your resume, and it helps you when you know what you're shooting for after that. You know, you've been around, you know how good the guys are here, and you know the environment. And it helps you when you get a chance to come up to transition quicker, and it's going to help him down the stretch.
Thanks for doing this, Freddie.
You're welcome.
That is Wild goaltending development coach Freddie Chabot here on Wild.com. Joe Donald, Dan Myers with you. We have about a half minute to go in the first period of the second set of games. I believe just the one goal so far that I've seen, Dan. It was Brandon Duhaime tallying down to our left for the Moose. They were victorious 4-3 in the opening game.
Post there. Really tied the game. Excuse me, that was Bryce Visit. That would have made it 2-0.
Shot off the crossbar down to our right. Boudria can't believe it, throws his glove up to his helmet, and the first period comes to an end.
Looks like 3 goals now for Brandon Duhaime. First one, the last one in the first game, and then he's got the first one today. Again, a guy who, very intriguing profile, a guy who's a draft pick from the previous administration, selected in 2016, Providence College alum.
So I'm accurate here. The Wild and the North Stars are playing. Meanwhile, it is the Moose and the Fighting Saints. And again, just to run through the rosters, if you're just joining us on Wild.com, the Wild roster: Nico Sturm, Alexander Kovanov, Louis Rail, Mate Guskov, Ivan Lodnia, Fedor Gordeev. The Moose: Brandon Duhaime, Bryce Misley, Damian Giroux, Simon Johansson, Tyler Sheehy, Jack McBain. North Stars: Jack Sadek, Will Bitton, Alex Breton, Adam Beckman, Sean Boudria, Dylan Malmquist. Fighting Saints: Phillip Johansson, Connor Dewar, Matthew Boldy, Marshall Warren, Nikita Nesterenko, and Dmitry Sokolov. The goaltenders: Matt Robson, Derek Baraboo, Hunter Jones, Philip Lindberg, Brandon Bussey. Not assigned to a specific team, just rotating. And it's 3-on-3 cross ice here. So we wind down. 2019 version of Minnesota Wild Development Camp is Damian Giroux to our left with a shot that stopped. He gets to the rebound. A sprawling opportunity through the goal mouth. Ends up going wide. And that was Bussey, the netminder down there, dealing with some traffic his way.
From BC on BC.
We might have our first penalty. Matt Hendricks takes the whistle out.
We have a couple of Boston College Eagles down here tangled up.
With Bain and Boldy giving each other the business, and we're going to have a penalty shot for Boldy.
We'll get to see the first rounder here, the kind of skill he brings to the table.
For the Fighting Saints, Matt Boldy in, and he scores 5-hole. Backhand, forehand, snapped it between the legs of Baraboo.
Never mind the half rink. Derek Baraboo is coming all the way out to the middle, try and cut down the angle on that one.
67.
Just about 90 seconds here in the second period.
You can see a natural chemistry. I think when Boldy and Warren are on the ice, you can see how those two play off each other. You can tell they are no stranger to this 3-on-3 format, whether it be in practice or in a game situation.
Sokolov just ripped one home as Nikita Nesterenko put it right in his wheelhouse on a nice give and go. Nesterenko, certainly an interesting prospect. He is a 2001 birth date. Boy, do I feel old.
Couple of those on the roster.
Drafted this year by Minnesota. He's a Brooklyn, New York native.
They're tied up over here. Bryce Misley with the backhander. Beats Bussey on the short side. And Nesterenko, a long-term project. Wild scout Darren Yopik last week at the draft said, obviously not counting on him being a guy to be at the NHL level anytime soon. He will head out to the British Columbia League this year. He'll be with the Chilliwack Chiefs, commit of Brown University. Brown University?
Yep.
You're an East Coast guy.
I just like the fact you mixed in Chilliwack.
Esteemed Wild PR maven Megan Kogut calls it Chilliwack, which I rightfully enjoyed.
I don't question her on many things.
The Chilliwack Chiefs. He'll play there this year. He's, again, the youngest guy at camp. Someone who is a multi-year project, but you've seen it this week, Joe, and watching him. There's skill there. There's something there to work with. Obviously needs to bulk up a little bit, get some experience, but he's a guy that'll be fun to watch for the next few years.
Duhaime was bidding for another tally. Bussey denied him in the closing seconds of that second period. So on to the third period. Here in the second set of games. Joe O'Donnell, Dan Myers with you on wild.com. I told folks to tweet at us, and then I never checked the old tweeter. I should probably do that.
2-2 on our left, 2-0 on our right. White down 2-0.
So the Wild suffered a 4-3 loss in Game 1 against the Moose. The Fighting Saints beat the North Stars in shutout fashion. And so somebody's going to be eliminated here from the Wild and the North Stars. We've got a 2-2 game.
Game to our right is 2-0 in favor of the Green or the Wild.
And we've got a 2-0 lead for the Wild. So the North Stars have been blanked thus far, and they're on the brink of elimination, Dan Myers. Desperation time. That's the team with Sadik, Bitton, Breton, Beckman, Boudria, and Malmquist.
I haven't had a chance to watch too much of that game yet. I've been so hooked in over here on the winners bracket. I believe Team White just scored. Oh my.
3-3 now.
Sokolov. You probably saw that celebration in Iowa. He just pulled it out right there. You just see the kind of skill he has.
I don't think that Sokolov scores a goal and doesn't celebrate, whether it's in his sleep, whether it's on a video game, roller hockey.
He gets his money's worth,
that's
for sure.
Playing with the kids at a school appearance, I kind of think that that's part of his game, that emotion.
That's
loves
good.
To play.
That's good.
Yeah, you see Boldy and Warren working a little two-man game right now to our left, Dan. Warren just stepped past some trouble. Damien Giroux's been another, I don't even want to say pleasant surprise. He's had another good week here. Remember, drafted last year, got to play in Traverse City, Michigan at the Prospects Tournament September a year ago, had a very good season. in junior hockey. He's wearing 68 in white to our left. Giroux, Sudbury native, 30-goal year in Saginaw. Came up with Iowa during the playoffs, was a black ace, got a chance to practice and sort of get to know Des Moines a little bit. He will go back to the junior ranks again, but I know that at some point here very soon, he's going to turn pro, and the Iowa staff absolutely loves this kid in Damian Giroux.
Yeah, another one of those guys that, oh my.
McBain just snuck one short side. Baraboo was screened, and
talking about Giroux, and one of those guys, again, that late draft pick, late round pick. Wild has the benefit of being patient with him. Again, just, what, 19 years old? Plenty of time for him to develop, and as you said, there are a lot of fans of his in this organization going
the
forward.
North Stars get on the board. 20 seconds left in the third period.
Team White going for the dagger down here on the left. Good chance there for Sheehy, whistled it just wide.
Final 10 seconds. It's Beckman looking for Boudria. They pulled the goalie in the final seconds, knowing that their playoff lives are at stake, if you will, and it's an empty netter that seals the fate of the North Stars. So eliminated, Jack Sadek, Will Bitten, Alex Breton, Adam Beckman, Sean Boudria, and Dylan Malmquist.
I don't know if I want to call it an upset down here, but my pre-tournament favorite. Is that game tied? I could have sworn the team down here, the white team, I'm getting them all mixed up. The Moose, I could have sworn the Moose.
So we've got
won that
overtime.
one.
We've got overtime in the winners bracket. Maybe they didn't count that short side goal by McBain. Hendricks kind of looked like he didn't see it, so I don't know if he waved it off.
Let the old man jokes commence for the freshly retired Matt Hendricks.
Well, McBain kind of sellied, and the white team was looking around, and Hendricks kind of looked up. And it didn't take long. Damian Giroux ends it just like that. Quick overtime goal, and the Moose
Just talking about him
moving
there,
on
Joe.
to the
Just talking about him.
championship game.
Well-timed goal by him. Skill on display there. Again, one of those guys that can do a little bit of everything, it looks like. Has some offensive pop to his game.
So we'll see the Wild and the Fighting Saints. So we'll get to just one game now, which should be a little bit more controllable. And the Moose are 2-0.
Keith Paulson down here doing a fantastic job as the quick trip Zamboni. Don't tell him I said that.
I won't. At least not until we're driving home together in about an hour.
I'm sure he'll be breaking down this film with the volume turned all the way up. We're going to actually get this thing down to one rink here.
Yeah, I think so. It's open season on season tickets. 11-game, half and full season plans are on sale now. Visit tickets.wild.com. Thanks for tuning in tonight on wild.com. Joe O'Donnell, Dan Myers with you. We are going to have the game that will decide who the Moose take on. Joe O'Donnell and Dan Myers with you. Glad to be joined now for a couple of minutes by Richard Park, longtime NHLer. He's been with the organization since as long as I can remember. How are you, Parksy?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Your role changed a little bit this year, didn't it, with the Paul Fenton regime? Tell us about being a bit more in a scouting role than maybe previous seasons. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. You know, when I retired, I took that position with the Olympic team, so that ate up a lot of my time, and you know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to commit as much time as I wanted to the organization. But you know, over the course of that time and the experiences that I had to, you know, was able to experience, I kind of realized that this was, the pathway that I wanted to venture down. And, the development component worked out excellent. It was, I'm very fortunate and grateful for the experience and the opportunity that Chuck and Brent had given me. But, the scouting job last year was my first year, and I really enjoyed it on a number of different levels. And, I'm going to continue to do that. And, with the new staff, there's some people that have come and some people that have gone, and we're kind of transitioning now where I think everyone's feeling comfortable and knows the direction of the club. So it's been real good.
Do you know which areas you'll focus on for the upcoming season?
I'll do the whole Western Conference.
Both NHL and AHL?
Correct.
Wow, a lot of teams to see, my friend. But being based down in California and a lot of your family out there, that should make it a bit easier, I guess.
It is. Anything that's associated with this game at this level is hard work, and there's a number of people that put in countless number of hours every season that go unnoticed. And at the end of the day, you're trying to do your part and whatever you can so that the organization can have success on the ice. And hopefully your work pays off in some way, shape, or form.
Richard Park with us here on Wild.com. I'm Joe O'Donnell. Dan Myers along for the ride as well. Fedor Gordeev just scored, and that's the opening goal in the first period of the game, in which the winner will move on to the championship game here in the 3-on-3 play. And Parksy, what have you seen this week from the practices you've watched and even so far in the 3-on-3 action?
Well, I haven't been here since day one, but the one thing that I noticed right away was I think the talent level is a little higher this year than in years past, and whether that's attributed to the smaller number of players or I know our amateur scouts really were excited with the players we got from this year's draft, and on top of that, the kids from previous drafts and they're a year older, so that they've rightfully improved over the course of the year. So. Just the progression of players developing. All the staff here does a great job every year putting this event together. So looks like the kids are having fun. Looks like they've got energy, and hopefully the fans enjoy this.
Parksy, Joe and I were talking a little bit ago just about how remarkable it is to see the talent level of some of these 17 and 18-year-old kids. Not even the third or fourth year development guys, but the guys that are coming in that were drafted last week. How have you seen that change through the years, and how fun is it to see the talent level of these guys that are still so young, and it seems like their ceilings are so high?
Yeah, that's a great observation, Dan. And, I actually learned quite a bit through my son coming up through minor hockey, and what I realized and witnessed was that, kids are they're a lot more informed at an earlier age because they have access to all these resources and so as far as the individual skills concerned, they work on them a lot earlier than perhaps, the older generation who we didn't know. We just, the information wasn't available, and not only the information, but you didn't have access to whether it be a trainer, a dietitian, some sort of specialized individual coach on the ice. We didn't have these things. So what you're seeing now is all these kids, they come up and all of them have they all can do pretty much the basic fundamentals, the skills at a much higher level if you were to just kind of average it out compared to the older generation. So yes, they are much more talented on average, and that bodes well for the game and obviously our organization.
Resources are aplenty for these kids, and this facility here is a resource. How would you describe Tria Rink for those that maybe don't live in the Twin Cities or haven't been out here yet?
Well, I mean, it's state of the art, and I'm not saying that just because I work for the organization. I cannot imagine what more ownership the organization could have done building this rink, from the smallest details to the ice quality, which I've heard is magnificent. It's a beautiful building, as you guys have all seen, and just like you said, the resources, the facilities that these players have access to downstairs is incredible. And at the end of the day, you just hope it makes a little bit of a difference at some point in the season, whether it's rest, recovery, whatever it may be that can help improve their performance on the ice. And this certainly is a destination when you come to the rink. It's not your ordinary practice facility.
Nice catching up with you. Enjoy the rest of the time here in St. Paul.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Richard Park, who is a scout pro scout for the Minnesota Wild, handling Western Conference duties this season. Always like catching up with him, Dan. He's obviously had a heck of a playing career, knows the organization, loves this area. He's one of the all-timers for this franchise, and certainly great to see him. And he knows what it takes to win. He knows what it takes to be a successful team, and to have eyes like that, scouting competition at the NHL and AHL level, very valuable resource.
And on top of all that, Joe, just an outstanding human being, a great wealth of knowledge for guys like us that are looking for insights into the organization. Someone who, as you mentioned, scored one of the biggest goals in franchise history back in 2003, Game 6, a couple blocks from here over at XL Energy Center. Wanted to ask him, one of the fun things this week, I don't know if you got a chance to go along or not, but the guys went over to Whole Foods on Tuesday afternoon and got a tour of the grocery store over there, had some fun games with their nutritionist, and had a chance to ask Matt Hendricks if they had that kind of thing when he was coming up through the minor league ranks. And he said he remembered they handed him a food pyramid, and that was about it.
Yeah, good luck, kid. There was also go-kart racing, some beach volleyball, some sand volleyball. Sokolov scores, beating Baraboo stick side. This is the game to get into the game, the championship game. The Moose are awaiting. Right now it's the Wild and the Fighting Saints. So a lot of team building that goes on, a lot of strength and conditioning, a lot of work away from the rink, camaraderie that's built, team meals together. And of course on the ice, very important. Get these guys all together as a near chance wouldn't rattle home.
It's been interesting to see how they've been able to kind of whittle down the schedule. Again, this has been a 7 or 8 day event in the last several years, and to get it down into 3 or 4 days just in terms of some of those team building activities. Like you said, one of the highlights for me, Joe, yesterday, I had a chance to sit in on the Travis Roy conversation, the former Boston University player who tragically went headfirst into the boards. Can't believe it's been more than, I think it's been 25 years or 26. I can't believe it's been that long, but just a riveting speech. And the whole team got a chance to listen to him talk and listen to his experience. And I don't know if I've seen a group of 18, 19-year-old kids so captivated before, but just great stuff from Travis Roy. I know we'll have some stuff on wild.com here this weekend about just what that meant to have him here and to listen to his experience and just listen to him talk.
Kovanov went between the legs, but Lindberg denied him with the right pad. Sokolov fires one high. The final seconds in period 2. Guskov trying to dance free. Sokolov strips him. And on a give and go, it doesn't convert. That will take us to the third period.
Sokolov waiting for it, too. He wanted it. He's come alive here in the latter portions of this scrimmage.
So the Wild team, Sturm, Kovanov, Rail, Guskov, Ladnia, and Gordiev, against the Fighting Saints, Phillip, Johansson, Dewar, Boldy, Warren, Nesterenko, and Sokolov. And you mentioned earlier with the human Zambonis, but Keith Paulson of the Iowa Wild staff and Matt Hendricks just joined the organization. Hendricks might be looking for either a pay bump or to get out of coaching and player development. He's been scraping snow with the shovel non-stop. So they've switched ends. Really great job by the staff to keep it as clean out there on the ice for these guys, sort of a dry scrape with shovels. And so we were down to our right for period 1, down to our left for period 2, and now back to the right we go. Here from Trier Rink in St. Paul, Joe O'Donnell, Dan Myers with you on Wild.com. Tweet at us at WildJoeRadio, at MNWildScribe.
I think it's getting colder up here the later we get into the night. Of course, being at 85 degrees outside with a 70-degree dew point, they've got the air conditioning on full blast. I'd love to get a peek at that electric bill this month.
And we head to the third period. Fighting Saints 2, Minnesota Wild 2. Winner gets the Moose.
We got a 2-2 tie after 40, so to speak. The goaltenders for this third period are Robson, and Bussey. Lindberg and Robson, excuse me.
Nico Sturm, one of those guys we've talked a little bit about, a couple games of NHL experience at the end of the regular season. Out there with the puck right now.
Currently on the ice, Sturm, Lotnia, Kovanov against, as Lotnia goes upstairs to beat Robson. And so that gives a 3-2 lead to the Wild.
Sturm certainly a guy that will compete for a job here in Minnesota this fall when training camp commences. Talking what, about 100 days away, Joe? Even less.
Crazy. Robson out with his goal stick, pokes it along. Phillip Johansson to handle. Johansson, 47 games in Sweden last year, his native country. As Nesterenko deals it to Sokolov, he'll slip past Gordy. Following up to play Nesterenko. This pass was partially blocked. Johansson tries to twist it in front, knocked away. Brett McLean will push a new puck in. And we continue right along. Rail with the centering feed, the Duluth Bulldog. Guskov, though, denied by Robson. But right now, the Wild are 67 seconds from moving on to take on the Moose. Those two teams opened against one another in a one-goal game.
1 minute to go in the third period, 1 minute.
We'll see if
Green down by 1.
the green team, if you will, the Saints, the Fighting Saints, pull their netminder Robson. 50 seconds left now as Lotnia.
Let's go, fans.
Sturm's pass went errant. Here's Marshall Warren. And the green team, the Fighting Saints, down by 1 with 40 seconds left. Boldy, left side with a shot. They score. It looked like it went off the glove of Warren. Brett McLean says no goal.
Toronto, no goal.
Oh my.
Warren was trying to plead that it hit his chest. Looked like it hit his glove. Controversy reigns. Sturm steals the puck. Trying to play keep away with 20 seconds left. Sturm dances behind the cage of Robson. Big power forward. And Nico Sturm, and a long shot finds Pater. So Sturm, the 6'3" forward from Clarkson.
62, Alexander Kovanov.
And it was Kovanov credited with the goal.
Kovanov, a guy who had a great year last year, playing for Moncton. Friendly face up there in Moncton, Joe, former Iowa Wild and Minnesota Wild coach John Torchetti.
So we'll get a rematch of the first game that was down to our left, the Wild and the Moose. So the North Stars and the Fighting Saints eliminated.
Shows you what I know about betting favorites. My 3-1 favorite is headed back to the locker room for the evening.
Sometimes it pays to put your money on the underdog, Dan.
Every game, half and full season tickets are on sale for the
There's so many interesting storylines that are going to be fun to follow, not only with the NHL club this year, but as we get towards Traverse City and what that roster is going to look like for Minnesota, but how that team down in Iowa is going to shape up this year. I know the blue line is likely to have a lot of familiar faces back this year, but there's going to be some jobs, it looks like, among that forward group, and there's going to be some new blood with a chance to come in. We've talked about Connor Dewar being one of those guys. Dmitry Sokolov was in Iowa last year, but could he see an expanded role?
They certainly hope he's ready to take the next step and eat more minutes.
Brandon Duhaime had a good day here. He's entering the mix. Kovanov, Ivan Lodny is turning pro, as it appears right now.
Yeah, and I think the indication I've got is that Kovanov is going to go back to the junior ranks, but I believe Lodny, you're right, is expected to make the jump. But Duhaime and Dewar should factor into the Wild's top 6 down in Des Moines, or top 9 for sure, you would imagine, with their skill and pedigree. You got Robson slated probably to eat up some of those games between the pipes with Kaapo Kähkönen as his battery mate. But you talked about the defense. Matt Barkowski re-signed. Draft picks like Louis Belpedio, Carson Soucy, all should be in that mix for Iowa. Again, you never want to count anybody out for a chance in Minnesota. They could all have outstanding summers and great camps and really push for a spot with the big club. But as far as returning Iowa Wild players go, still under contract. You've got Brennan Manell from Woodbury, Minnesota. Hunter Warner coming off surgical procedure this offseason, but he's expected to be ready for camp. So yeah, the defense is pretty good as far as returning faces and guys with a lot of experience. And then you add Fedor Gordiev to the mix, the Omsk Russian native, acquired
big boy.
Just, what was it, about 5-6 weeks ago? Played in the OHL between Flint and Guelph. 234 pounds, 6'7" defenseman. All right, so it's the championship game. Joe O'Donnell, Dan Myers with you. As development camp wraps up, the green team, Nico Sturm, Alexander Kovanov, Louis Rail, Mate Guskov, Ivan Ladnia, Fedor Gordiev. They are playing under the moniker the Wild. So the Wild wearing green. The white team, the Moose, they have not had a blemish so far, and they just had a little bye week, if you will. Some time off for them to rest up while the Wild and the Fighting Saints were hooking up for the right to play in this game. The Moose are wearing white. Brandon Duhaime, Bryce Misley, Damian Giroux, Simon Johansson, Tyler Sheehy, and Jack McBain. It's a good mix of prospects and guys with some, in the case of Sheehy, I guess, a free agent that joined the Iowa Wild late last season. So the Moose with, again, prospects and draft picks and Sheehy mixed in. And then on the other side, you got Sturm, who got a taste of the pro ranks. Gordiev, a newcomer to the organization recently, and then some high-end draft picks like Kovanov and Ladny as well. So a good mix on both sides. 3-minute periods will determine the winner.
Ladny has looked pretty good in the little bits I've been able to watch that team. Scored a goal in that last game.
So again, the Wild are in green, the Moose are in whites. Puck goes immediately out. Brett McLean to stick handle around and then launch one back in. Duhaime with a chance from inside. Baraboo makes a save. Bussy opposing him.
You know Brett McLean wants to just go out there and play, too. He looks like he could still go out there and play.
He's hunched over and he's into it, isn't he? So again, the goaltender's not assigned to a specific team. So right now, Team Green having the puck. Ladny as backhander beats Bussy. So the Wild, a 1-0 lead.
Extremely skilled player. Third-round pick from the Wild a couple years ago. Again, looks like he'll be turning pro this year. Chance to play down in Iowa, but had a high ankle sprain last year that cost him about 20 games. Healthy here at development camp and looking good.
McBain keeps it alive. Duhaime for the white sweatered Moose. He lost it. White gets the puck back. Simon Johansson sweeping behind the net of Baraboo. And a shot upstairs, a rifle of a chance, and that was buried by Bryce Misley to tie it at 1.
We've seen that a couple times now, Joe. Bryce Misley's got a heck of a shot.
And how about an answer back? Beautiful shot by Mate Guskov. The Wild are back in front 2-1.
Those guys again selected last weekend.
Guskov now rattling one off the iron from in close.
Kid's got a shot.
Now Tyler Sheehy, the former Gopher. Handing the puck along to Misley. On an interchange with Simon Johansson, it's Misley to fire a long shot with some traffic in front of Baraboo, but he's able to swallow it up, and now Kovanov as both teams get a little change on the fly. Kovanov to Giroux. Now McBain, and that chance hit the iron and deflects out of the playing surface.
Nice catch by Brady Boudreau down there on the other side of the glass. Been assisting this week under the wing of the equipment staff.
Ladny, a shot stopped by Bussy. A nice tweet from Steve Arkema, listening in Knoxville, Iowa. He and his son Ben are tuned in, making us wish hockey season was here. And they are now Iowa Wild season ticket holders, so thank you for your support. The Des Moines-based franchise. Joe Donald Dan Myers with you. 20 seconds left in period 1.
Where's Knoxville, Iowa, Joe?
The Knoxville Speedway. Not.
That's south?
Now you're testing my geography, Dan. I just know I've been there once and I went to the racetrack. They have sprint cars there. I didn't know what was going on. It was loud. Here's Sturm sweeping one in front, nobody home. And after 1 period, I have it at Wild in green, 2, and the Moose in white, 1. And the PA announcer confirms.
It's a little easier to follow the action when it's only going on one end of the rink here. So, well done, Joe.
I have some responsibilities on Instagram right now that I've been neglecting.
I'm doing research on Knoxville, Iowa, so
I should probably get on that.
southeast of Des Moines.
There you go, just like I said.
Oh. Hello in Knoxville, Iowa. You're very popular in that part of the state, I hear.
That's the one thing I've got going for me. So Dan, do you think if I do an Instagram story while we're on wild.com, how do you think that would look?
It might melt Instagram. Give it a shot. Why not?
I'm not even so sure I know.
You don't even know how to do the story on Instagram.
I don't. The few times I've done it, our outstanding social media coordinator, Gretchen, has literally handed me her phone and said, go.
That's AHL award-winning Gretchen.
So I'll just pretend that I did plenty of Instagramming. Nobody rat me out. We're down to our right now for period 2. Kovanov's backhander gets through. And now it's 3-1 Wild, the green team.
One inclusion maybe for next year, Joe, and perhaps you can pay with this with your giant salary, is let's get the sweaters of the actual clubs. It's some of the all-time great hockey sweaters. North Stars, Wild, Fighting Saints, Minnesota Moose is terrific.
I think we really need to add a budget line item for the 3-on-3 tourney jerseys, Dan.
Something fun to think about. I just want to see the Minnesota Moose jersey out here flapping in the breeze.
I don't blame you. In fact, Rick Bronwell, assistant equipment manager for the Minnesota Wild, has a Houston Aeros jersey hanging in his office. He has a Kansas City Blades jersey from the old IHL days in his office, and he also has a Minnesota Moose jersey in there as well. He showed me the other day.
You should hook him up with a Idaho Steelheads jersey.
There you go.
Do you have any of those around the house in central Iowa?
I believe I do have one Steelheads jersey somewhere. I'd have to track it down for you, though. $1:45 to go in the second. Giroux to Duhaime, and a shot rattled wide. We have it at 3-1 Wild. They're wearing green here. This is a championship game from Tria Rink. One more period to go after this of 3-on-3 hockey. The team's changing on the fly. The reinforcements just standing at the blue line. Giroux a shot. That's swallowed up.
That's Hunter Jones down there in that crease.
Jones and Lindberg. Lindberg facing shots from the green team, the Wild. And Jones, who goes by the Twitter handle Shutout Jones.
It's a great Twitter handle.
It is great.
He's also a accomplished, self-taught musician.
Really?
Bet you didn't know that.
I did not.
Plays guitar, plays piano, and he sings. And he taught all of that to himself. He's 18 years old. He started when he was 13.
Wow.
He's competed on, I forget the name of the show. Maybe a Canadian listener can help me, but it's basically the Canadian version of American Idol.
You're just full of fun facts right now. Anything else?
This is a great conversation I had with him this week. You can read more about that on wild.com in the coming days.
Lodnia steals, attacks. Lindberg able to flick it away with his blocker. 22 seconds now to go as Lodnia's centering pass intercepted. Misley to Sheehy, and he rifles the top shelf past the stick of Jones. That makes it 3-2.
Sheehy, a familiar name to the fans around here, even though he's an invitee to the camp. Burnsville native, former Gopher, outstanding college career.
All right, so with 1 period to go now, In the championship game of this 3-on-3 tournament, we've got a 1-goal game. The Wild, wearing green, lead it 3-2 over the Moose Club, wearing white. Again, one more time for you. The green team leading 3-2. Nico Sturm, Alexander Kovanov, Louis Rail, Monte Guskov, Ivan Ladnia, Fedor Gordeev. The Moose wearing white, Brandon Duhaime, Bryce Misley, Damian Giroux, Simon Johansson, Tyler Sheehy, Jack McBain, and again they trail at 3-2.
Derek Baraboo down here prepping for the last couple minutes, waiting down here on the quiet end of the rink.
Baraboo and Robson will be the goaltenders. Looks like Robson will backstop the white team, the Moose. They're the club down a goal.
No wonder Baraboo is preparing. Chance to win a championship. Now whose name gets put on the cup in this case if you're a goaltender?
Ship it out, get it engraved with everybody's name real tiny, because it's a small cup. McBain, Giroux, Duhaime to start for Team White. Again, they need one to even it up. Sturm, Rail, Ladnia for Team Green, the Wild. They have a 3-2 lead. 3 minutes to go. Overtime and a shootout if needed. Sturm in alone, snapped one, Robson a stick save. Giroux picks up the loose puck, charges ahead, tried to lay it in front for McBain. That was broken up. McBain had an unfair advantage in the first team building event. It was volleyball. It's his sister, right? That's
correct.
Like an all-world volleyball player, at least in her age group.
Yeah, there were stories of his greatness I remember out of last year's camp where
here he ties it up right on cue. Jack McBain with a snapshot. Stationed to the left of Baraboo, and a 6'4" Toronto native who plays at Boston College. Makes it 3-3.
The guys were cowering. Heck of a move there by Gordy.
Gordy showing some upside offensively here in this 3-on-3 scenario. Fedor Gordeev, 99 birth year, and it's 4-3 Green. Under 2 minutes left. Sheehy driving the net. Baraboo denies him.
Gordeev acquired from Toronto in exchange for a 7th-round pick in next year's draft. It's the draft pick the Wild acquired from Winnipeg in the Matt Hendricks trade on deadline day.
So Hendricks for Gordeev when it's all said and done.
You'll always remember that one now, Joe.
Misley stolen by Gordeev. Kovanov, my apologies. And now it's Guskov. Monte Guskov. Spun around the net, looked for Kovanov. The Russian connection there. It was broken up. A minute left now. It is 4-3 in favor of the green team. Sturm on a 2-on-1 with Ladnia. Pulled the trigger. Robson denied him. Now Duhaime. Tried to step past the check. Nearly lost it. Duhaime battles. Gets it back. 47 seconds left. Duhaime checked along the boards by Rail. It comes free. And McBain failed to connect cleanly on a bouncing puck, a one-timer. And it goes over the glass. 35 seconds left. Team Green leads 4-3.
We talked about it earlier. You can see the intensity now. Not much on the line, but a little something. And these guys are very prideful.
Giroux trying to snuff out Sturm, and he does. Sturm slipped it along. Ladnia, toe drag move, and a shot. He goes short side, beating Robson. 5-3, 15 seconds left. White's got a hustle. Giroux a chance. That caught the glass. Brett McLean with it. He'll feed it to Ladnia, that's the coach with the Iowa Wild. Now Sturm, 5 seconds to go, and that's going to be all she wrote. So it turns out to be a 2-goal win in the championship game. And the Wild go undefeated. So Team Green, the Wild, in the final game beat the Moose 5-3. So your champions are Nico Sturm, Alexander Kovanov, Louis Rail, Monte Guskov, Ivan Ladnia, and Fedor Gordeev.
Talented group. Couple guys that are certainly going to make their mark with the organization in the upcoming season one way or the other. Nico Sturm could be a guy fans in Minnesota see plenty of. Ivan Ladnia, Fedor Gordeev could be guys down in Iowa. Well deserved. Undefeated through the tournament. Who's going to award this thing now?
Well, their captain, if you will, is Alexander Kovanov, I believe.
Who's playing the part of Gary Bettman here?
Excuse me, Nico Sturm, I believe, was sort of appointed the captain by the staff. So you've got Sturm, Kovanov, Ladnia, Guskov, and Rail.
Or will they touch the trophy?
And there's Gordy to join the photo.
Minnesota Wild Development Camp 3-on-3.
So appreciate everybody tuning in on Wild.com. Again, you can follow Dan Myers at MNWildScribe. You can follow me at Wild Joe Radio. I'll be down in Des Moines. The American Hockey League circuit. Looking forward to another great year of Iowa Wild hockey as they celebrate with a cup high above their heads. And a laugh from the 6 players in green. That was a...
Take a lap, boys. Take a lap.
2.5 months, Joe. We'll see you in Traverse City, huh?
It'll be fun. Minnesota Wild will participate again in the 8-team tournament in Traverse City that'll feature the likes of the Dallas Stars, St. Louis Blues, Chicago Blackhawks, the host Detroit Red Wings, etc.
I believe Toronto's in it this year, are they not? I want to say they have been added to the mix, which could, if that is indeed true, we could have a nice group of fans down there. Detroit always represents well. Toronto, not too far away.
So again, IowaWild.com. IowaWild.com for more information on the farm team, if you will, in Des Moines, Iowa, coming off a playoff appearance. And for the Minnesota Wild, of course, plenty of content coming your way on Wild.com for the man on my right, Dan Myers, and the rest of the great staff here. It's open season on season tickets. 11-game, half and full season plans are on sale now. Visit tickets.wild.com. Free agency coming your way starting Monday. It's always a fun time, a lot of buzz around all of the various 31 NHL organizations. And so stay current on Wild.com for the latest news on your Minnesota Wild. Our thanks, of course, to the Minnesota Wild technical staff here. Hank and Paul and everybody else that helped put this together logistically. Pleasure to be on the air with you on Wild.com for a little summertime hockey. 2019 Minnesota Wild Development Camp in the books. Team Green wins it 5-3. The Wild beat the Moose. Sturm, Kovanov, Rail, Guskov, Ladny, and Gordy, your 3-on-3 champions as development camp comes to an end. Dan, thanks for joining me here tonight. Always nice catching up with you, and we'll see you in Traverse City.
Thank you, sir.
For Dan Myers, Joe O'Donnell, and our privilege here on Wild.com. Enjoy the rest of the summer, Wild fans.